Welcome to What Do You Want to Do, the show that will hopefully help you figure out what you want to do in life or reconnect you to what you love doing. Each show has a guest who is doing what they want to do, whether it's in their career or in addition to their regular job. Most importantly, we want to help you realize that no matter your age, you too can do what you want to do if you have the will to do it. Now here's your host, Leonard Kaplan.
Welcome to What Do You Want to Do? This is part 3 of my exclusive interview with Sarah Infini Takagi. We had a lot of surprises and revelations so far in parts 1 and 2. Let's see what happens in part 3. Stay with us. So where do you think you would be right now if the piano never existed? What kind of a career, or would you have had a career if it wasn't for the piano?
I have no idea. I think piano was tied to my self-esteem as much as I hated it.
Yeah.
Even in school, I was like the piano kid, and because I was winning, like, believe it or not, 10 competitions a year. And
Wow.
So I became famous in my school as the piano kid. I was on newspapers and TV and radio. So I have to say, as much as I hated it, I was liking the attention, the recognition, and the pure respect I was getting. So I was never bullied. I was respected. I never went through that whole horrible, awkward teenage years where you don't know yourself. Even though I didn't really like playing the piano, people looked at me like I'm such a piano hero. And so I had kind of a surface confidence, self-esteem, and naturally, because I won scholarships, I just naturally went to music for college, and I never had to struggle with what to major in college. So in some sense, I was saved by the piano in many ways.
It's an inextricable part of your life. You can't imagine your life without it. So my question is null and void, because it's impossible even to imagine it. I get it. Now, one of the most fascinating things that I saw you do, and I've been to a lot of your performances, was the fractal concert.
I
really, really love that because...
Oh, thank you. This is the first time I heard you say that.
Visual art is what I originally wanted to be. I wanted to be a comic book artist.
Oh, cool.
So I'm very visual. So when I would see the music and what it would look like, it was amazing to me.
Yeah, maybe you want to explain to the viewers what you saw, because I don't think the viewers would understand.
Okay, fractals, each sound that was emanating from your instrument was visually on a big screen.
Yeah.
And they were like...
It's called interactive fractals.
Yeah, and they were like rectangles and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can explain it. You just put me on the spot because I don't really know how to explain it.
No, I just felt like I didn't want to lose the viewers by...
No, that's good.
So basically what happened, everyone, is that Leonard came to one of my shows where I basically, by that time, I was already an improviser on the piano. By the way, that's considered very rare in classical music.
Yes.
Because I'm not a jazz pianist, by the way. Not at all. I'm not a good jazz pianist. I've never been. I'm not trying to be either. But I learned I kind of learned to teach myself how to improvise and make up my own music at the piano with no plan whatsoever, spontaneous music making. So one day for a concert, I was able to put on a screen interactive fractal images that would interact with sound that I was making. And that was a concert that Leonard came to, and it was part of the faculty series at New England Conservatory. And it was a 1 hour long concert where I basically didn't even stop. I basically played on the piano looking at the images, and I would react back to the images. And I feel like it was like a two-way. Yeah, it was very cool, interesting experience, but it was kind of hard. Continuously playing nonstop for 1 hour was hard.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
I can't even imagine. Wow. Yeah. So fascinating career. Now the comedy. The comedy is, would you say that's your newest thing, the comedy?
Yeah. Although it has been, as you can tell, it has been brewing through my lifetime.
Yeah.
since I was little, because I've been doing all this comedy with my brother since I was little. I was always the funny kid. And it turns out that when I was playing the piano, you know Victor Borge, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we have to explain it to the viewers.
Yeah.
So there is a amazing Danish pianist. Unfortunately, I think he has passed away.
Oh yeah, long
maybe
ago.
10 years ago. But his name is Victor Borge, and he was a super world-class, accomplished classical pianist who happened to also do a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, to a point, he became super famous for playing the piano and doing comedy. But the comedy got to be so big. I think eventually he always had a piano, but I would say there are shows where he would have a piano and look like he's about to play, but he would never even play the piano because he was so funny, and he ended up becoming like a world-class, unbelievable comedian. And I've got to tell you, Leonard, he was my favorite pianist the entire time. Even as I was playing classical piano seriously, I felt like I wanted to be like Victor Borge. So in some ways, that
I think you've done
dream, yeah. But I've actually now gotten to a point where I started incorporating more and more comedy in my shows. But now I'm at a point where I wanted to see how I can do comedy without the piano.
Right.
So I've been doing stand-up comedy with no piano whatsoever.
And that is a brave thing to do. You know, I write comedy, and I'll give my jokes to people. I offered you one of my jokes.
You're funny. I saw your video.
That's sketch comedy. Sketch comedy. You're hiding behind a character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stand-up comedy, even if you're kind of playing a character, you're still up there all alone.
Yeah,
that's
it is
scary.
very hard. Actually, what happened was, again, this was a lot of things in my life happened by accident because I never aspired to ever be a stand-up comedian. Again, a lot of what I do now all stems from my depression, which was, a couple years ago, a relationship failed miserably, and I was in a really, 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 really bad place. And the only thing that could get me feeling better every day was watching comedy. So that was that. And then when I found out that at Improv Boston, they give classes, I was like, okay, if that maybe taking classes is going to make me feel better. And so I started taking improv comedy classes, which is not stand-up. It's basically learning how to do theater, improv theater with other actors on stage and making up comedy as you go. And I actually loved the class. I just fell in love with the whole art form. And if anything, and I've never even said this verbally because I just felt like I wasn't good enough. But if anything, I wanted to become an improv theater comic actress.
Yeah.
So I wanted to eventually keep going and maybe audition to become part of the Improv Boston comedy theater troupe. But unfortunately, right now with COVID and everything, first of all, it's all shut down. Yeah. But what happened was I was taking all the classes until one day I just felt like it was like a level 5 class called Herald, and I felt like I hit a wall. It was really, really hard. And I was talking to another faculty member at the school about it who became my friend. And I was just saying, I don't know. I don't know how to get better with this Herald form. It's so hard, blah, blah, blah. And then he was observing me and what I was sharing. And at one point, I think my friend was like, Sarah, have you tried stand-up comedy? And I'm like, oh no, I think stand-up is so boring because you don't get to, basically, you don't get to play. See, in the improv theater, basically you show up for class and you get to play with other actors.
Sure,
and I thought that was fun. And when he said you should try stand-up comedy, I was like, that sounds like really boring, but maybe, just give it a try. So I took one class at the same school. And again, just as I expected, it was really not fun because basically the teacher said, okay, what's your name? What's your material? Okay, by next week, write something for next week, 3 minutes. And it felt for all of us, I'm like homework because The other class, you show up, it was like playtime. It was just
Yeah.
play and no homework.
Big
Now I was
difference.
going to this class and all the teacher would just say, we weren't interacting with each other. Every
Yeah.
person had to go home, write their material, come back, stand alone, and be brave and share. And I was like, this is a lot of work.
Yeah. It was
Um,
probably competitive too.
yeah, but actually, again, I was so depressed when I was
Yeah.
doing stand up as well that I wasn't
Yeah.
even in for a competition. I was just hoping to get through the class
Yeah.
and feel better. But check this out. Um, this is an interesting reason how I'm kind of pursuing this is that two of my classmates were already hardcore stand-up comedians, like meaning they were doing the circuit. Apparently, like they would go to 2, 3 stand-ups every week, and they were already doing it for a year or two or something like that. So they were very serious. There were a couple serious people in my class. I was the first, like, not very interested, but I'm kind of here kind of student. But I didn't even, I've never even been to a stand-up open mic. I've never seen it. And during class though, two of my classmates were like, talking to each other, and they were like, hey, are you going to Sally O'Brien tonight? And they were like, yeah, maybe. And they were talking to each other. I've never been to one open mic stand-up. And since we had to do a stand-up by the end of the class, I was like, oh God, I better look at what stand-up looks like. I don't even know what it is.
Wow.
So I just said, hey guys, can I come and watch you guys? And they're like, sure. So I just showed up at Sally O'Brien's on Monday, and I didn't even know what to expect because I didn't know anything about signing up. I didn't know about the wait time. I didn't know this 5-minute thing. But anyway, I did kind of have a little material from the class. So I show up thinking I'm going to sit, get a beer, and watch. But they were like, are you going to go, Sarah? Because I'm in the class. They're like, I don't know. It's like, you should just sign up. You just put your name. I'm like, okay. So I went up to the guy who was hosting and said, can I put my name? But I've never done this before. And there's a chance that I don't want to do it when it, like, can I, like, basically I said, can I just escape? Like, if you call my name and I don't want to do it. And the guy said, sure. So I basically put my name there. I was number 39 or something. There were 50 comedians that went up that night.
Wow.
So I was number 39, and I saw my two friends go. It already was 2 hours into it, like at the show. And by that time I'm so sorry, I didn't drink beer. I drank like a cocktail. I'm a cocktail girl. So I was drinking like a hard vodka-based cocktail, and I was tired, and I already saw like 25, 30 comedians go. And I saw one guy, the host gave him what's called, he got a prize, basically out of like 25, 30 comedians. All of a sudden the host goes, hey, I forgot his name. Let's say, hey, Jim, what do you want? You already won bumping rights last week. So do you want a cocktail or fries? And he goes, I'll take a drink. And that's when I figured out that he got a reward, because he did make the whole house was laughing like crazy as soon as this guy. So apparently he was the last week's winner. And so he had won, and he came back in, and he won again. He won another. He was super funny. And then I saw that it was 5 minutes, and I was like, you know what? By the time I'm sitting there, I came up with material. I was like, all right, you know what? If he calls, I'm too drunk at this point. I'm tired and drunk. I'm not nervous. You know, what the hell? So when my name was called, I was number 39, right? I went up and did my little Japanese, like, hello, everybody. Like this, I really went into character. As soon as I did it, you laugh, right? The whole house just went crazy into laughter, and they were like, oh my God, they were laughing. And when I finished, guess what? The host walked up to me and said, you just completely brought the house down. You just won yourself bumping rights.
That's awesome.
And I said, what are bumping rights? I didn't even know, because I've never been to a stand-up. He said, that means from next time you come back, you don't have to wait in line. You can just come right up. And it turns out I stayed till the very end. I was the only person who got the bumping rights.
Well, that's amazing
That's
story.
a good start.
God, I mean, I understand why they were laughing, because you shocked them, because you did a self-depreciating
Yeah.
racial stereotype thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
nobody else could get away with, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing, amazing
Yeah.
story.
So I got a little bit, just like when you have a little success, you get a little encouraged. So I
Yeah,
was like, oh, it was really fun to make a whole bar
yeah,
laugh. And then
I can
a
imagine.
lot of people came up to me and said, that was really sick. Oh my God, that was so awesome. And then I was invited, not invited, but like friends were like, you should do a comedy studio. You should do this. And I started going to a lot of places. And every time, I was getting a lot of great feedback. So I was
Right,
like, oh, this is kind of fun. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. And also now with COVID, there's no chance of doing improv
right, right.
at
Well,
all.
it'll come back. I'm sure everything's
Yeah.
going to come back. You know what I mean? Pat, I'm developing an analogy between you and the
Okay.
conqueror of a country. Okay, so like a
Okay.
conqueror of a country,
Oh no,
like
Donald Trump.
like no. We're going back a little bit. So 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 like
That's like,
Napoleon.
oh, me and Donald Trump.
Napoleon took over France, but he was from Corsica. Okay,
Okay.
he was that's more Italian than French.
Mhm.
Hitler took over Germany. He was from Austria,
Mhm.
Vienna.
Mhm.
And the reason they were able to do that is the reason that you were able to conquer comedy.
Mhm.
You were coming in from the outside. Sometimes people
Oh, oh,
coming
oh,
in
oh, 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 I see the
coming in from
outside.
the outside of
Yeah.
anything, you can see it more objectively what
Yeah.
it is than
Mhm.
people who are in it. So sometimes
Oh,
people who are
interesting.
immersed in comedy or
Yeah.
immersed in music,
Yeah.
like the Beatles,
You
were not
can't see the forest for the trees.
exactly,
It's like almost
exactly.
too
So,
nearsighted.
and yesterday
Interesting.
was the 80th birthday of John Lennon, and there was an interview between Sean Lennon and the son, the youngest
Yeah.
son, and Paul McCartney, and they were saying that they were not musicians
Mhm.
in their first 5 years. They were
Okay.
learning as they went along,
Huh.
as
Yeah,
they didn't know how to
sometimes,
read
yeah,
it, they didn't know
yeah,
how to do it, they didn't know how
yeah,
to, John Lennon only knew banjo chords instead of the
yeah,
guitar chords,
yeah,
and they came from nothing to
yeah,
surpassing everyone. So I
yeah.
think that's what you did in your comedy. I
Well,
really
first
do.
of all, I have to correct you. I didn't conquer comedy at all. Like I
Well,
didn't
that
conquer
night
it.
you did.
I'm just doing. I'm just doing. Oh, oh, you mean you were at the show? You felt like I did great. Is that what you think?
Yeah,
Do you think I did
when you
well?
brought the house down, that
Oh,
you
thank
I
you.
didn't mean you conquered it forever. You
No,
conquered it
no.
that night. I didn't see
Oh,
any of
thank you.
anything else.
Thank you. You know, I mean, I would never use the word conquer, but all I know is that the couple times I've been doing comedy locally,
Yeah,
I've just been getting great feedback.
yeah,
And I'm always also using a completely different approach. First of all, I've done the accent, but another thing that I've noticed, Leonard, it's a male dominated
yeah. Of
scene,
course.
especially in Boston. That night, I would say there were like 42 men
Yeah,
and 8 girls.
yeah.
And then there was only one Japanese girl.
I got to tell you a story, but
Yeah,
then we're going to sign off
yeah,
because I think
yeah.
I'm going to run out of recording time on
Yeah, I
this
was
thing.
gonna say yeah, I have to probably take a bathroom break
Me
too.
too.
Yeah, so I think we both have to go. I was gonna
What?
say, can we stop and go to the bathroom?
Uh,
Well,
what? Uh,
nature calls.
yeah. Now
So,
I forgot what my last thing was going to be.
oh,
What did
I'm
I
so
say?
sorry.
What did I say?
You said there was one more thing I wanted to say before I
And
signed
I
off.
didn't give you any clue as to what it was. I'm gonna kick myself when I
Uh,
oh dang.
would it help to take a bathroom break and come back?
Um, let's do it.
Should we do it? Because
I'm
I
gonna
have
pause
to
it.
really go. That's tough with the virtual. I have like a backdrop curtain. I
Yeah,
have two curtains. One is purple and the other one's a red brick.
I don't dare move my body. This
Uh,
is so fun. Ah, and now even when I move the mic, oh my
uh,
goodness. Oh, are
oh
you
man.
kidding me?
I think it's just a certain posture. How did that happen?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it up. I'm gonna go
Huh.
back to the green screen, like plain
Yeah.
green.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, that's okay. You could just say you had a bathroom break. I mean, it's okay.
we're human.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll go to no background and then
Okay, that's fine. That looks professional too.
maybe, I don't know. That's a
Green.
stretch. All right. I'm just going to acknowledge it. We are recording again. All right.
Okay.
Now, due to technical difficulties within my brain, I cannot remember the last question that I wanted to ask you before you go. And I know I'll think of it probably at midnight when this is all over. But anyway, I want to thank you, Sarah, for clearing up a lot of mysteries and explaining your art to us on the show. What do you want to do? And I hope you've inspired, I'm sure you've inspired a lot of young people and a lot of people from all ages. And I'd like to have you back because we talked about everything on the show today.
Yeah, we did. We did everything under the sun except for toilet paper.
That may be part of your accent there.
The question is, do you have enough toilet paper?
That's,
And it was a serious issue a couple months ago.
oh my goodness, even in stores today. Even in stores today.
And
But-
kids, if you're listening or watching this, don't quit that piano lesson, because later in life I found out it's helping me to pay rent. So it
Amazing.
ended up being a good thing.
Not a bad way to make a living, that's for damn
Not a
sure.
bad way. Yeah, and in
Wow.
fact, yeah, I'm teaching a little improv and composition as well. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
one last question, and this isn't
Yeah.
the one, but I'll think of that later.
Sure.
Your middle name, how did you decide to make it Infini? I know
Okay,
why.
well,
I know
for that
why.
one, I'm gonna do a little exit, and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So you see the word play on the wall there. Oh,
I'm back with an item, and where is that magnifying glass? Okay, did you like, by the way, I'm kind of referring everyone to the show that I gave about my stand-up comedy show on Zoom, where I brought this out, the magnifying glass. Did you laugh with that segment?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to tell people how Asians usually have teeny eyes.
yes.
And today, in that segment, I use this thing. Okay, this is what I wore for that show. But if you look very closely, there's no lens, so
Right.
you can poke right through it. And I
Right.
said, this is not glasses. This is an Asian teeny eye
Right.
locator.
And
So
you've
that was
never
it.
seen the late comedian Phil Silvers, because he used to do that in the 1950s
No.
and 60s.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's the magnifying glass. And we may not need this. I'm just going to put this to the side. Let's see if you can see this. So basically, my middle name is not a registered middle name, but I feel it's my spiritual name,
Mm-hmm.
essence of who I am and what drives me as a human and as an artist. And it's the French version of the word infinity, but I think it's more like an adjective.
Mm-hmm.
I never really did research on it, but it's so instead of infinity, it's infini in English, American English pronunciation. But I think in French, it's more like infini.
Mm.
And anyway, so that word came from this. This is now again. I'm just gonna do a close up to the camera.
Perfume or something?
Yeah. So this is a perfume by Caron. And when I was a little girl, and I was like 7 or 8, my dad was always flying all over the world. And one day he came home with a bottle of this perfume. Not this exact one. This is
Right.
something I bought years ago.
Okay.
But he came with a sample of this perfume. And the perfume is called Infini. Okay, you can't really see it.
I can't
Yeah,
see it now.
I can't really see
Fini,
it.
okay.
Yeah, it's really hard
Yeah,
to see it.
yeah.
Yeah, you can hardly see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this perfume is called Infini, and it was a souvenir from my dad's trip to France or something. And ever since I got that perfume, I was 7 or 8 years old, I've kept it in my head, and I learned a little French in junior high school. And as I have been living my life with this whole infinity concept to creativity and the way the lifestyle and my spirituality, I was like, I I just felt like I wanted to have that in the middle.
Right.
Sarah Takagi just didn't do it, but I wanted the Sarah Infini Takagi.
Hmm.
And
It
then,
fits very well. I like it.
okay, so now I'm going to have to be a little verbose and explain one more thing because there's more
Okay.
to it. Because I'm an amateur numerologist and
Really?
a real dabbler in astrology. Definitely not any sort of master or even amateur, but I get into numerology, and also I do intuitive name readings
Hmm.
with vowels, and how, like, I could pretty much give readings about people by feeling the vibration of that person's name by looking at it. Um, and so one of the things that I intuitively started interpreting was that the vowel A is a very extroverted energy.
Yeah.
And if you start with the Tao of yin and yang, yang is extroverted and yin is introverted. I have been reading my name, which is Sarah Takagi, has 4 A's. Sarah is out and Takagi is really out. And I was concerned about my energy being too extroverted and out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you notice at the end of Takagi, there's an I.
Mm-hmm.
And the I is more of a yin introverted energy. And I felt like Sa Ta Ka, which is like energy going out into the world, but it closes with Takagi, which closes that big outward energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to like this perfume, which is about infinity, which is my spiritual like drive and my dad's souvenir. And with the French spelling has 3 I's. I in the beginning, fit, fi, I, and then an I. That's 3 I's. And if you know, there are 4 A's, which is Sara, Taka. And I already have an I at the end of Takagi, which is I, and 3 I's. That makes 4 I's, 4 A's, perfect balance of out and in energy. And the Infini is really my true self, which is hiding behind the big curtains of Taka and Sara.
Right.
But I felt like for a long time, I felt like a closet spiritualist. Like for the longest time, I didn't tell people I was really into metaphysics and channeling and all. So lately, in the past 10, 15 years, I've really come out and embraced that outwardly. And I thought it was time for the world to know that outside of this big flashy curtains, the inside is infini.
Yeah.
And then when you put them all together, it balances with the 4 A's and 4 I's. Perfect balance. So that is my story of my Infini story. I'm sorry,
well
every story has so long.
No, but it's and this is no bull here. You're one of the most mysterious people that I've ever known.
Really?
You're out there,
So
but you're like I can never figure you out, which is cool,
That's so cool. They say in dating books that's supposed to be the number one quality you're supposed to have if you want to successfully date men. If you're a woman and you want to get the attention of men, you're supposed to be mysterious. Now, interestingly, folks, I have completely retired from dating. I'm not interested in dating again. I have completely failed in human love. So I'm back to being a nun. But interestingly, I'm back to being a nun. But as an artist, apparently, or as a person, I guess I'm mysterious.
Yeah.
Huh?
So
I'm very flattered.
So you can read people, but not the people you date.
I have to say, I think the dating and romantic energy is the biggest temptation. I mean, it just Kundalini, I mean, I'm just going to say sexual Kundalini energy is the most powerful energy probably within human beings. And I think once you get involved sexually with people, it completely
It clouds everything,
it
doesn't
clouds your vision and your thinking.
I
And
hear
I
that.
think what happened was that, first of all, I kid you not, I also never dated in junior high school, never dated in high school,
Mhm.
never dated in college.
Mm-hmm.
I had no dating experience literally until about 12 years ago. So therefore, I'm a super late person in the dating scene. And
Right.
again, I was super naive and I had no idea what to expect. And guess what? I had no idea that this was really different from a regular friendship.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I feel like super hurt, traumatized at this point, and I've had it at this point. Like, I'm just like, I am not dating again.
The thing is, based on what you've told everybody on the show and what you've told me,
Yeah.
is you're going through now what teenagers go through.
Yeah.
Most
Thank
teenagers. So
That's,
teenagers get through it. I think you can get through it, and then someday
Yeah.
you'll let yourself do that again. You know.
well, who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that's the only downside to having been like a piano kid, was that I
Yeah.
had no social life. I was practicing every day, and also a super
Wow.
old-fashioned Asian family where basically you weren't allowed to date at all. So
I never would have pegged you for
And-
that. Wow.
no, and so that was
That's
part of
amazing.
my problem. And at this point, though, I've had
Yeah.
enough. Remember what I said when I was 5 or 6 to my sister? What did I say? I said to my sister, human love is impure.
Right.
It's just not good for you to get involved with that. And that's what I said when I was little, and I'm taking my own advice and I'm doing much better.
Right. Wow. Well,
Bizarre, right?
Didn't expect that. That's amazing. Amazing
Yeah, well,
stuff.
that's my final statement. So yeah, if people ask me what my status is, yeah, I retired from dating.
Retired. Well, you can come out of retirement too, I think you will someday.
Maybe one day. Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm cracking jokes about it. I have a lot of material for comedy, thanks to all my dating failures.
Sounds like you could write a sitcom too about it.
Yeah, my style is very more sketch comedy. Like, I think my stand-up comedy is more theatrical than like a regular stand-up. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Sarah, thank you very much for joining me on this show. And you revealed quite a bit about yourself, your career and aspirations. And I think people driving and listening to this will have quite a lot to think about.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Hopefully.
Thank you, everybody. And join us again next time for another guest. And until then, what do you want to do? Thanks for joining us here on part 3 of my special series with Sarah Infini Takagi. It's been a lot of fun. And next week, you can expect a brand new guest with more surprises. So until then, what do you want to do?